Have you ever found yourself, wrestling with a really complex task, maybe implementing a new system or getting ready for some big assessment, and you only realize later, way later, that there was this perfectly crafted authoritative guide that could have just saved you so much time and stress? It's a bit like painstakingly building some complicated piece of furniture by hand, and then you stumble upon the instructions you somehow missed right at the end. Well, in the vast, often pretty intricate world of management and quality systems, there's actually exactly such a document. It's a profoundly impactful, yet maybe surprisingly understated ally. It quietly underpins effective operations, often working behind the scenes, maybe without the recognition it really deserves.
That's a perfect way to put it, yeah. In the huge universe of international standards, there definitely are certain documents that are, well, absolutely fundamental. They act as the real scaffolding for how countless organizations function effectively. Yet, precisely because they are so foundational, so pervasive, their critical role can sometimes be overlooked. They almost blend into the background. They're the quiet architects of consistency and quality. They don't always grab the headlines.
And that quiet significance is exactly why we're shining a spotlight on one such document today. Our source material for this deep dive is an insightful article from Quality Magazine, and it's got this provocative title, ISO 19011, Your Best Friend You Didn't Know About, by Andrew Nichols. I mean, that title alone, Your Best Friend You Didn't Know About, it immediately grabs your attention, doesn't it? It hints at something incredibly valuable, something that might just be the missing piece in a lot of organizations' operational puzzles.
It absolutely does. That title is so clever because it manages to convey a level of, well, utility, reliability, even approachability that you might not normally associate with a technical international standard. It really sets the stage for a discussion that goes way beyond just a dry recitation of clauses and requirements. It suggests a practical, empowering tool.
It certainly does. So our deep dive mission today is pretty clear. We're going to unpack precisely what ISO 1911 is. We'll explore why it's earned this, affectionate name best friend. We'll delve into its fascinating history, understand its crucial relevance in today's, frankly, incredibly dynamic world of standards.
Therapy.
Consider what its ongoing evolution means for anyone involved in managing systems or conducting audits, whether internal or external. Okay, let's really unpack this thing.
And in doing so, our main goal is to provide you, the listener, with those truly essential nuggets of knowledge. You'll not only get up to speed quickly on this critical piece of the quality management puzzle, but hopefully you'll also experience those aha moments, the ones that transform just information into real understanding and practical insight. This isn't just about knowing what ISO 1911 is, it's about grasping why it matters and how it can really benefit you and your organization.
So let's jump right into that wonderfully alluring title, Your Best Friend You Didn't Know About.
When you typically think of a technical standard, you're probably picturing something precise, maybe a bit dense, maybe even intimidating. Certainly not something you'd call a best friend. So what is it about ISO 1911 that makes it worthy of such a personal, almost, well, endearing description? Is it genuinely that helpful, or is this just brilliant marketing? Oh, it's absolutely not hyperbole. It's a remarkably accurate description. The best friend analogy speaks directly to ISO 1911's role as a trusted, reliable, and truly comprehensive guide. It transforms processes that can often feel incredibly complex, stressful, even adversarial like auditing into constructive, manageable exercises. Audits, by their very nature, can be perceived as high-stakes investigations, sometimes even confrontational. They can cause anxiety, create bottlenecks, often feel like a necessary evil rather than a real opportunity for growth. ISO 1911 steps in as that calm, knowledgeable friend, the one who tells you exactly what to do, how to prepare, what to expect. It takes the guesswork and, frankly, a lot of the stress out of the equation.
That's a powerful distinction. So it's not just about ticking boxes for compliance. It's about making a potentially high-stress activity much more manageable and ultimately really beneficial. It helps organizations not just do an audit, but do it well. Maybe even look forward to the insights it brings. Okay, so if we boil it down to its most fundamental definition, what exactly does auditing management systems entail according to ISO 1911? Could you give us maybe a simple, relatable scenario where someone might actually see this standard in action?
Sure. At its core, ISO 1911 provides the definitive principles for auditing. It gives comprehensive guidance for managing an entire audit program. It offers detailed instructions for conducting management system audits, from start to finish. And it provides a robust framework for evaluating the competence of the people involved in the audit process, whether they're the auditors themselves or the ones managing the audit function. Think of it as the ultimate playbook. It's for ensuring that any management system, be it quality, environmental, health and safety, information security, even food safety, is not only working precisely as intended, but is also continually improving and adapting. Right, a relatable scenario. Okay, imagine a medium-sized software development company. They've implemented an ISO 27001 Certified Information Security Management System. They want to make sure their data protection protocols, their access controls, their incident response procedures, they're not just documented, right? They need to know they're actually effective and being followed day to day. So, an internal team, guided carefully by the principles and processes laid out in ISO 19011, would conduct an internal audit. They'd systematically verify that employees are sticking to security policies, that software releases follow secure coding guidelines, that backup procedures are solid. And the point isn't about catching people out, it's about identifying potential vulnerabilities before they become major breaches. It's about ensuring the system's integrity and fostering a culture of continuous improvement in information security. The source itself kind of hints at this, mentioning an event titled From Compliance Chaos to Certification Confidence. That perfectly encapsulates the transformation ISO 1911 aims for, bringing order, clarity, and effectiveness to what could otherwise be, well, chaotic. It really shifts the focus from just ticking boxes to truly understanding, strengthening, and improving how things actually work.
That's a crucial clarification. It sounds like a really holistic guide. Now, the source material highlights a very specific scope for ISO 19011. It says it's intended for first and second party audit purposes.
hmm
For our listener who might not be totally immersed in the, let's be honest, sometimes dense jargon of quality management, what exactly do those terms first and second party audits mean? And why is that distinction so important?
This is an absolutely vital distinction, yeah. It's key to understanding where 1911 fits. A first-party audit is essentially an internal audit. This is when an organization audits its own systems for its own internal purposes and benefit. Think of it like a rigorous, proactive self-assessment. It's about checking that the organization's processes, its documentation, its performance, its adherence to its own rules are all on track. The main goals of a first-party audit are really internal improvement, finding areas for growth, efficiency gains, and ensuring compliance before anyone external looks. It's like a fundamental health check.
Okay, so it's less about grading yourself and more like rigorously proofreading your own work. Identifying weaknesses before it goes to the publisher, who in this analogy is maybe the certification body.
Precisely. It's all about proactive self-improvement. Now, a second-party audit is also an external audit, but it's conducted by one organization on another organization where there's a direct relationship or a specific vested interest. The most common example, and it makes it really clear, is a customer auditing a supplier. So if you're a company relying heavily on a critical component from a specific supplier, you might perform a second-party audit. You do this to ensure their manufacturing processes, their quality controls, their delivery systems consistently meet your specific requirements and standards. It could also be a large corporation auditing its contractors or key distributors or strategic partners. It's about ensuring alignment and managing risk within that direct business relationship or supply chain.
That really clarifies it. So first and second party audits fundamentally about internal improvement and that crucial supply chain assurance. Both sound incredibly important for businesses, especially today. How do these compare to, say, those big formal audits we often hear about, where a company gets assessed for its actual ISO certification? Because the source also points out a key contrast. It says ISO 19011 is not for certification bodies. Instead, it's ISO IC 17021 for the specific needs of conformity assessment bodies, more commonly known as certification bodies or registrars and their audits. Why is this particular distinction so incredibly important in this whole world of standards?
Oh, this distinction is absolutely critical. It precisely draws the line around the scope, the purpose, and even the legal standing of each standard within the bigger quality and conformity assessment picture. ISO IE 17021 sets out the extremely strict, rigorous requirements for third-party certification audits. This is where an independent, impartial, accredited body, the certification body or registrar, comes in. They objectively assess an organization against a specific standard, like ISO 9001 or ISO 14001. And the goal is issuing a formal, publicly recognized certification. These audits are all about independence, impartiality. They're designed to give external stakeholders, your customers, investors, regulators, credible assurance that an organization meets those global benchmarks.
Okay, so if ISO A 17021 is the meticulous rulebook for the independent judges who award the gold medal of certification, then ISO 1911 is more like the comprehensive training manual for the internal team, detailing how they rigorously prepare, practice, and perform to actually win that medal. Is that a fair way to think about it?
That's a highly effective analogy. Exactly. ISO 19011, on the other hand, is all about empowering organizations to perform their own effective audits, both internally and of their direct business partners. It's fundamentally about building strong internal capability, fostering that culture of continuous improvement, and ensuring your own house is truly in order. Whether you're meticulously preparing for a third-party certification audit or just aiming for ongoing operational excellence within your own systems and supply chain. What's truly fascinating here is how seamlessly these two standards work together, in concert. While 1911 provides that invaluable how-to for internal and second-party audits, equipping organizations to self-assess and improve, the rigorous framework of 17021 ensures the unwavering credibility, integrity, and global recognition of the external certification process itself. They are distinct in their immediate use, but profoundly complementary. Each serves a vital, non-overlapping purpose in the broader quality ecosystem. It lets organizations achieve both internal excellence and that valuable external recognition.
That perfectly sets the stage for our next point. Because understanding ISO 19011 isn't just about one standard in isolation, it's about recognizing its essential place within the truly, well, staggering landscape of ISO's global influence. The source shares a number that, frankly, is quite astonishing. The International Organization for Standardization has authored some 25,803 standards, including other specs for organizations to use 25,803. Get this. That figure alone speaks volumes about the sheer breadth and depth of standardization efforts worldwide.
It is an absolutely staggering number, isn't it? And it really helps put ISO's profound, pervasive influence into perspective. This isn't just about traditional quality management or manufacturing, though these are certainly huge areas where ISO is crucial. ISO's reach extends into nearly every conceivable industry, every aspect of daily life you could possibly imagine. From the precise dimensions of shipping containers, ensuring they fit perfectly on ships and trains globally, to the specs for the magnetic stripe and chip on your credit card so it works anywhere, to environmental management systems, information security protocols, stringent food safety guidelines, even safety requirements for children's toys. The very chair you might be sitting on, the light bulb in your room, the air quality in your office, they likely all benefit from ISO standards in some way. This huge number of standards, it underscores a global, deeply embedded commitment to systematic standardization. And the benefits are just immense and far-reaching. It vastly facilitates global trade by ensuring products, services, systems are compatible across borders, reducing technical barriers. It profoundly enhances interoperability, meaning different systems and tech can work together seamlessly. Think about avoiding costly incompatibilities. Crucially, it significantly improves safety across countless sectors, protecting consumers and workers. And maybe most importantly for you, the consumer, it builds immense confidence because products and services meet recognized global criteria. Without this widespread standardization, we'd face a level of chaos, incompatibility, and risk that would severely hamper innovation, efficiency, global collaboration. It's like a quiet, invisible infrastructure supporting our modern world.
So it's far more than just a collection of rules. It's the foundational backbone of global commerce, consistency, safety. But what's also really fascinating, and the source makes this abundantly clear, is that these aren't static documents just gathering dust on a shelf. All ISO standards undergo a regular cycle of review to ensure alignment with user needs. Why is this continuous evolution so absolutely vital? And what are the actual real-world consequences if a standard fails to adapt?
Right? Standards, by necessity, are very much living, breathing documents. They have to adapt. Just consider the rapid pace of change in our world. We see constant technological advancements, new methods, and best practices emerging all the time. Global challenges evolve, think cybersecurity threats, climate change considerations, and vital feedback continually flows in from the practitioners, the organizations actually using these standards day to day. So this regular review cycle, typically every 5 years or so, is absolutely essential to ensure they stay relevant, practical, and effective. If a standard were static, it would quickly become obsolete. It'd be like trying to navigate today's digital world with a map from the 1990s, wouldn't it? Imagine trying to apply a quality management standard from, say, 30 years ago to today's agile software development, or complex global supply chains, or highly automated AI-driven manufacturing. It just wouldn't fit. It would be completely out of step with current realities. Without this constant evolution, standards would stop being enablers of progress and instead become rigid barriers to innovation. They'd prevent organizations from adopting new, more efficient, or safer practices. They wouldn't adequately address emerging risks or opportunities. And ultimately, they'd lose their immense value for the countless organizations relying on them. The real-world consequence: fragmentation of best practices. organizations developing their own potentially conflicting internal guidelines, leading to inefficiency, wasted resources, loss of global comparability. We see this dynamic across industries. The source mentions the OJT dilemma in the magazine, highlighting the urgent need for updated on-the-job training standards for non-destructive testing. That perfectly illustrates this constant demand for up-to-date, relevant guidance.
That's a truly critical point. It's not just about keeping pace. It's about staying ahead of the curve, maybe even anticipating future needs. And speaking of familiar standards, many of our listeners will definitely recognize ISO 9001, the cornerstone of quality management systems. The source notes that ISO 9001.2015 is going through the process of being updated and is scheduled to be published sometime in 2026. How does this significant refresh of ISO 9001 specifically relate to our best friend ISO 1911? Are they, intertwined?
Oh, profoundly intertwined. Yeah, this is a perfect illustration of how these standards form an interconnected ecosystem. ISO 9001 focuses specifically on the requirements for a quality management system, or QMS. It sets out the criteria for an organization's QMS, emphasizing things like strong customer focus, the critical role of top management leadership, the process approach, commitment to continuous improvement. Now, for an organization to maintain its ISO 9001 certification or even get it in the first place, robust and effective internal audits are not just recommended, they are a fundamental, often mandatory prerequisite. And these are the very audits meticulously guided by ISO 1911. Now, if we connect this to the bigger picture, ISO 1911 is not some standalone island. It is a vital, foundational, often invisible part of that larger ecosystem of management system standards. It provides the essential methodology, the practical how-to ensure that an organization's quality management system, the very system being certified to ISO 9001, is actually functioning the way it should be. It empowers organizations to proactively identify areas for improvement, maintain ongoing compliance, and ensure the QMS is genuinely delivering value. The upcoming update of ISO 9001 will undoubtedly bring new nuances, new emphasis, which will in turn necessitate corresponding adjustments and refinements in internal audit practices. This just further cements the absolute need for ISO 1911 to also evolve alongside it. This constant dance, this symbiotic relationship between standards, ensures the entire system remains coherent, relevant, and supremely effective in driving organizational excellence.
That deep connection between 9001 and 1911 naturally leads us to the origin story of our best friend. Why ISO 19011, or rather its predecessor, was created in the first place. Let's take our listener back in time, way back to 1987. That's when the original ISO 9001 plus 9002 and 9003 were first published. A huge leap forward for quality management, right? A global declaration of best practices. But the source points out a really critical problem that immediately popped up: a significant knowledge vacuum. These standards required internal audits to be performed, but no one really knew what that meant. Just imagine that. A massive, globally significant new requirement with no clear instruction manual for its most crucial component. It must have been a bit like handing someone a blueprint for a magnificent skyscraper, but forgetting the structural engineering guide.
It's almost hard to imagine from our perspective today, isn't it? Where detailed guides are just a click away. But back then, yeah, the implications of that knowledge vacuum were profound. It led to quite a bit of organizational scrambling. Imagine being a company told you have to perform these crucial internal audits, but with no clear standard instructions. No established best practices, no consistent methodology. This led to immense inconsistency across organizations trying to comply. Some might have done very superficial checks, others might have overcomplicated things, maybe hired expensive consultants just to figure out the basics. Many would have struggled with the fundamental principles: planning, executing, reporting on audits effectively. So what did this all mean for companies scrambling to meet these critical new quality requirements? It meant a huge amount of trial and error, a frustrating lack of comparability between audit findings from different places, and a significant barrier to truly leveraging the benefits that ISO 9001 was designed to deliver. Instead of driving improvement, audits risked becoming just another compliance burden. This historical anecdote is absolutely key. It vividly shows that standards like 1911 don't just emerge from theoretical debates in some academic bubble. They are born out of urgent, real-world, practical problems that desperately need solving. The fundamental need for actionable, standardized guidance was just paramount.
So it was a clear case of build the framework and then urgently figure out how to effectively use its most critical parts. And the very first answer to that foundational audit quandary, as the source tells us, was ISO 10011, which was published in part to answer the needs of organizations who were implementing ISO 9001, 9002, or 9003. It almost sounds like an emergency manual, quickly put together.
It was indeed a direct and absolutely necessary response to that urgent, gaping need. Yeah. ISO 1011 served as that foundational document. It finally provided the much-needed framework and clarity for doing internal audits. It essentially gave organizations the how-to guide they were so desperately missing for this vital part of ISO 9001 implementation. Before 1011, an organization might have known intellectually they needed to audit, but they had no consistent, internationally recognized way of planning an audit program, defining objectives, executing the steps, documenting findings, reporting. ISO 1011 was the crucial first step in systematizing this critical function for quality management. Think of it like a new, incredibly powerful, complex piece of technology being released, something revolutionary. Everyone buys it because they know it's the future, but then they realize there's no comprehensive user manual, no troubleshooting guide. ISO 1011 was the urgently compiled essential how-to manual, ensuring everyone could use the new tech internal auditing for ISO 9001 effectively, consistently, and get its full value. It really was a lifeline.
That analogy perfectly captures the immediate, practical problem it solved. But as with all things in the dynamic world of ISO, evolution is constant. The source mentions that ISO 1011 was withdrawn and replaced by ISO 1911. Why such a significant change? Not just a minor update, but a complete replacement. That suggests a deeper transformation was needed, right?
Right. This transition from 1011 to 1911 represents a profound evolution in how auditing guidance was, well, conceptualized and approached. While 1011 laid that absolutely crucial groundwork, providing initial clarity mainly for quality management systems, 1911 marked a shift towards a far more comprehensive, refined, and crucially an integrated approach to auditing all types of management systems. See, at the time of this transition, the world of standards was expanding rapidly beyond just quality. Environmental management systems like ISO 14001 and occupational health and safety systems like OHS 1801, which later became ISO 45001, were gaining huge prominence. Organizations were increasingly implementing multiple management systems at the same time, an integrated management system. They needed a unified, coherent, efficient way to audit all of them without, redundant effort. So instead of having separate, potentially conflicting, or unnecessarily duplicated audit guides for each specific type of system, ISO 19011 was specifically designed to be generic guidance, broadly applicable across the board to any management system discipline. It meticulously incorporated lessons learned from years of 1011's implementation, addressed its limitations, and broadened its scope to provide a truly holistic framework for auditing. This demonstrates continuous improvement not just in the standards themselves, but of the entire standard-setting process. Recognizing and responding to the evolving, interconnected needs of modern organizations, it was really a strategic move to future-proof audit guidance.
That journey, from addressing a basic, urgent need to developing a refined, specialized, broadly applicable standard, it truly underscores its ongoing importance and adaptability. And it brings us directly to its current state and its dynamic future. Because we're actually in the midst of another cycle of evolution right now. The source states that fewer may be aware that ISO 19011, the guidance for auditing management systems, is also under review and feedback is currently being solicited. And critically, we may see a new revision to ISO 19011 in the coming year. This isn't a static document, it's a living guide.
That's right. And the fact that feedback is currently being solicited is incredibly significant. It's often misunderstood. It highlights that ISO standards are not rigid decrees handed down from some ivory tower by a select few. Instead, they are living, evolving documents developed through an intensely collaborative, democratic process. It involves input from a vast global community of users, experts, practitioners, national standards bodies. This transparent, inclusive engagement ensures that the revised standard will be practical, relevant, and truly aligned with current best practices and the complex realities modern organizations face. It's like a continuous global conversation with the very people who actually use the standard, ensuring it remains useful, effective, and cutting edge. Now, as for what might specifically prompt this current revision, it could be a multitude of factors. We're seeing the emergence of new audit technologies, think AI-assisted auditing tools, advanced data analytics processing huge amounts of info for anomalies. There are evolving global risks, increasingly complex supply chains, heightened focus on data privacy, cybersecurity, the growing importance of sustainability, ethical sourcing. Furthermore, changes in business models like the increase in remote work, distributed teams, digital transformation all require new adapted auditing approaches. The standard needs to continuously keep pace with and maybe even anticipate these shifts to stay effective. For example, how do you audit a remote team's processes effectively while maintaining the integrity and objectivity of the audit? These are the kinds of questions a revision tries to address.
That co-creation process is truly impressive. It makes these standards dynamic and responsive, rather than just dogmatic. And it really drives home why ongoing revision is so crucial for any standard, especially one as vital for operational excellence as ISO 19011. Without it, companies would be stuck using outdated tools for modern problems, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. Without regular updates, any standard, no matter how well conceived initially, runs the significant risk of becoming obsolete, ineffective, ultimately a hindrance. An outdated standard might actually compel organizations to comply with requirements that no longer make practical sense today. Or worse, fail to adequately address new risks and challenges. The revision process ensures that ISO 19011 continues to serve as an effective, cutting-edge tool for navigating the increasing complexities of modern management systems and their audits. It's about maintaining its status as that best friend. Always there, always relevant, always providing the most current, insightful, effective advice for managing and improving. And this also raises a critical practical question for organizations and individuals. How can you best prepare for these upcoming changes? The answer really lies in staying informed through reliable sources, actively understanding the proposed revisions as they emerge, and maybe even participating in feedback opportunities if your organization can. The more engagement, the better the final standard.
Which brings us perfectly to a crucial real-world application right now. The Quality Magazine Source highlights an upcoming event. From compliance chaos to certification confidence, how QA teams can win audits with the right systems and partners, scheduled for June 24, 2025. I mean, that event title speaks volumes about the very real problems ISO 19011 aims to solve and the outcomes it helps achieve.
It absolutely does. It beautifully encapsulates the immense utility of ISO 19011 in practice. This event directly ties into the standard because it provides the very guidance needed for organizations to confidently prepare for both internal audits, which they do themselves, and those external ISO and regulatory audits. The session promises to teach how quality assurance teams can win audits by understanding not just the principles of auditing, but also the distinct, crucial roles of certification bodies. Remember, they operate under the strict rules of ISO IX 17021 and how to choose the right implementation partners. This shows exactly how ISO 19011 fits into the overall strategic fabric of an organization. It's not just about passing an audit, it's about empowering organizations to move beyond just reacting to audits with dread, and instead to proactively master their systems, ensuring they're not just compliant but truly excellent and efficient. It fundamentally shifts the mindset from that reactive compliance chaos to a proactive, assured certification confidence. This also illustrates that the value of robust, structured auditing guidance like 1911 provides isn't just about meeting a requirement. It's about achieving genuine operational excellence, fostering continuous improvement, driving overall efficiency. You can see this broader pursuit of operational mastery echoed in other critical topics the magazine highlights, like why a QCG solution beats traditional compliance, which emphasizes moving beyond just superficial checks, or lean manufacturing and service fundamentals, which highlights efficiency. All these concepts really converge on the idea that comprehensive, structured auditing is an indispensable tool in the larger pursuit of making operations smoother, smarter, and ultimately more successful. The ongoing revisions, the practical applications of ISO 19011, they aren't just academic curiosities, they underscore that it's an evolving, dynamic tool for tangible, real-world success.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, it seems abundantly clear that ISO 19011 truly is your best friend you didn't know about. We've journeyed from that critical knowledge vacuum back in the 80s when ISO 9001 first mandated internal audits but offered no roadmap, to today's highly refined, continuously evolving guidance for first and second party audits. That's quite a testament to the transformative power of structured guidance.
Indeed. And understanding this standard, crucially applying its principles, it's not just about ticking a box for compliance, though it certainly provides the pathway for that. More profoundly, it's about cultivating an organizational culture of effective management, fostering genuine, continuous improvement, establishing robust internal controls within any organization. It empowers you, whether you're an auditor meticulously assessing processes or an auditee preparing your systems to participate in a process that truly drives positive change. It strengthens the operational fabric of an organization, ensures that systems don't just exist beautifully on paper, but thrive powerfully in practice. It's about building that foundation of trust and reliability from within.
And that leads us perfectly to our provocative thought for you, our listener, to maybe consider as you go about your week. If a standard as comprehensive and effective as ISO 19011 can transform the way entire organizations assess themselves for quality, efficiency, continuous improvement, what profound lessons can we as individuals or even small teams maybe extract from this structured approach, applying it to self-auditing our own projects, our daily habits, maybe even our personal learning processes?
That's an excellent question. Really insightful. Could adopting a kind of personal ISO 19011 approach, setting clear personal criteria, regularly gathering evidence of our progress, honestly identifying where we fall short, actively driving improvement, could that help us achieve our own kind of certification confidence in our daily lives? Think about it. The core principles, methodical self assessment, setting clear performance indicators, unbiased evidence gathering, identifying nonconformities or areas for improvement, systematically implementing corrective actions. They're universally applicable, aren't they? Whether you're managing the vast operations of a multinational corporation or just trying to optimize your personal productivity. Applying that structured thinking derived from a robust standard like 1911, it can offer surprising clarity, efficiency, and a powerful framework for consistent growth and effectiveness. It really encourages critical thinking about how we can proactively ensure our own systems, personal or professional, not just functioning, but truly working optimally, and how we can consistently make them better day by day.